Okay, guys, we're here to talk about Journey of the Savage Outer World.
Have you seen that Johnny Depp commercial that's like Sauvage for Men?
Of course.
Where he like buries his rings and shit, and you're like, what?
No one wants your rings, man. you can keep them. Don't worry about that. I've seen that too. I know what you mean.
It's messed up.
Guys, we're here to talk about a very quick game, actually. Ralph was like, play this game, it's a bit like Journey, but it's not. I'm like, alright.
I'm like, Sam, it's like 6 hours, really short and sharp, you'll be able to finish it, no problem. Sam calls me, he's like, yeah, I'm like 4 hours in, I'm up to this part. And then it's like, and I'm like, yeah, you're about 20% you're like 20% the way through the game. I don't know how you did that.
I'm doing a lot of exploring, man, okay? I'm picking up a lot of things. But all
it's
in all,
the Dean Takeshi model of gameplay.
I really enjoyed it. That's the first thing. Let's get that out of the way.
No, first. Let's drop.
When you jump into this game, it's kind of so saturated with color. It's just like so beautiful, but it's very No Man's Sky. It's very Portal in its cheekiness, in its quirkiness. It's very Journey in its shortness, and it's like you've got one thing that you can pretty much see the whole time where you're going. It's like an amalgamation of all different types of games, all thrown into this very tiny small package, but it all works so well. And the best thing about it, I think, was the way that they approached the survival aspect. So I think there's a lot there to digest. But where should I start? Should I start with the survival? The survival is one of the most annoying things that I hate in games. I hate when a game gives you have to find carbon and you only get one bit of it every 45 minutes. I really hate that. This game is really great as a light survival. And
I first of all, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Sam. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't call this survival though. Like I just think that's just a misnaming of it, because you do collect some resources and you use them to craft things, but there's no survival aspects. There's no like oxygen, there's no food, there's no thirst, there's no like elements that you need to protect yourself from. It's literally like you just collect some resources so you can build some upgrades. It really is like collecting red orbs in Devil May Cry.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? It's almost the equivalent of that. Not quite, but quite similar. So
yeah.
I think if you walk into this expecting it to be a survival game, which is actually what I expected, you are going to be disappointed. It is not that.
I guess I'm using the survival as like in terms of you have to pick up oxygen, nitrogen, aluminum and whatever, and those things create things and whatever. I'm connecting it very much to what No Man's Sky was. You're right.
Yes, I am. Look, I would actually define this as a platformer more than anything else. You're right, it does borrow from a lot of genres. It does feel like a whole amalgamation of stuff. But if you were to say, what is this closest to? I would say Banjo-Kazooie and Mario. There is a lot of just exploring. Yeah, man, there's a lot of exploring the world. There's a lot of platforming, a lot of jumping on top of mushrooms. Remember those bits?
Yeah. I would definitely also say that there's a Metroidvania style to this.
Yes.
And that's where I would say...
Jim Sterling did a video on Metroidvania. He's like, I don't like the word Metroidvania. Now, all my comment section, whenever I mention that word, is like, stop saying Metroidvania. It's such a dumb word.
It's a very good word to use,
It's a perfectly cromulent word to use, okay? Just fucking shut up. Well, Metroidvania is fine, alright? Jesus. Anyway, it is a partly Metroidvania game, and like, that's fine. Like, it's sort of combining that platforming aspect of, games like Mario, Banjo, whatever, with Metroidvania. And I think that's where the collection of the stuff comes in, because you are collecting oxygen or whatever, not to build a hut, but to build like an upgrade for your booster that gives you like quad jump or whatever else. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly right. And I think that the level design around that whole Metroidvania or Banjo-Kazooie style, whichever we want to go with, it's so brilliant, because it's almost like I wasn't aware that I wasn't able to get somewhere until it kind of gave me something and then showed me this place. Like, there was so much stuff. There were so many places to go. There was never once that I was like, oh, I can't get there yet. There was, for me, the level design gave you so much to explore. It never felt that it was lacking in things that I could do.
Well,
did you feel that?
I feel that at the beginning. I feel like this game actually has sort of like three parts. First one is when you arrive and you're like, oh, there's so much to see, so much to do. What an amazing world, whatever. Visually, it's incredible. It kind of just gives you this sense that this is this incredible landscape.
Yeah.
What happens after that, I think, is that it really narrows quite a bit, and particularly towards the end of the game, a lot of the environments kind of meld into one big space. They all kind of look the same, just like floating rocks. I think it loses a lot of its identity in that second act. The third act, I'd say, is kind of like post you finish the game and then you just have to collect all the remaining things, right? So whatever. Act 2 is like the second half of the actual game, and I just think that, I was expecting more sort of distinctiveness from each of the biomes that you're exploring. and it really wasn't that. It was just kind of like, here's more space, and it didn't have enough identity. Do you know what I mean?
It definitely had, the snow bit at the beginning, and then it went into like a deserty looking thing, and then you're right,
and then it's just floating rocks,
and then. And, it did like all games usually do. They give you a similar enemy, and then they just change its color.
Yeah.
Or like, they'll just put like a helmety thing on top of it, and then you gotta get... there's just...
Had like a little penis helmet on.
All this kind of stuff. So there was definitely tricks of the trade that they were using just to like, fluff it up. I hear you there, but with the level design itself, I was not getting bored. I was never bored either. I agree. I agree with myself. I'm like, I agree.
No, but I do think that the game structurally kind of does get into a bit of a rhythm that's a bit repetitive. For example, like the general rhythm of the game is you want to get somewhere. You can't get there because you don't have the upgrade, right? So what do? You got to get a piece of what's called alien alloy, and then you get that, and you can then build the upgrade. You can now get to the next thing. That's the rhythm of the game, like over and over again. You probably do this about 5 times, and then the game ends.
But I mean, you can say that for Banjo-Kazooie. You go into a level, you can't do something yet. You speak to the little guy in the what's his name again?
Mumbo Jumbo?
No, he come out of the hole, and he gives you a mole man. He gives you a new ability.
Mole man.
Hans comes out of the mole man thing and gives you a new ability, and then you can do something else, and that happens 20 times in that whole, if not more. That can be something that can be continuously stimulating.
Sure.
It's just the way that they actually give it to you.
I agree.
But I didn't actually feel that to be overly taxing.
Yeah, I don't think it was taxing, but like I said, it does settle into a bit of a rhythm. It doesn't really evolve much during that time. This game is like 6 to 10 hours long. I think it's about 6 hours to beat the main thing, the main campaign, whatever you want to call it. And then if you want to collect all the things, then there's at least another sort of 2 to 4 hours on that. There's a big focus on collection in this game. You are constantly collecting, minerals to build things. There's like orange goop things that you pick up that level up your health. Alien alloy so you can build upgrades. Like, you're just constantly collecting things. And so if you're that kind of player that loves platformers and you love completionist sort of stuff and collecting all of the things, cool, this is great. But if you're someone that just wants a really unique, interesting world to explore for 6 hours, also great. If you're hoping for anything other than what I've just described, you're probably going to be a little bit disappointed with this one.
The last thing I'll say is I really feel like the crux of why this was interesting, apart from the world, was the characters. Was the person in your head just talking to you, saying all sorts of quirky, weird shit the whole time. But also, like, the CEO with, like, his weird hair everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, the Dr. Emmett Brown style.
Yeah.
Very engaging, very cool. And
It's a funny game.
Yeah, it's a funny
really
game,
funny game.
actually.
Like,
and the ads in the corner showing you how you can clean your brain with, like, this weird tissue paper. And just weird, quirky shit. And it just feels extremely indie in that regard. So I think it's definitely worth checking out. Definitely worth checking out.
I agree.
Would you say wait for sale, buy full price, or never touch, bro?
Wow, thanks ACG. Well, I guess we should also say this is on the Epic Games Store.
Oh, it is. How long for? 6 months? It's not out for another 6 months, guys.
I don't know, actually. I'm not sure if it's ever coming to PC. Lol.
Maybe it's too small.
I actually, you know what's funny though? This studio that made this game has been bought by Google to make games exclusively for Stadia.
Rip. Wow.
Rip. I really hope this studio
That should be the thumbnail. We only spoke about it for 5 seconds. But that's the thumbnail.
Stadia's first exclusive game made by a developer on other platforms.
On Epic Games.
Has something else to do with Epic. It's the perfect, like...
It is, and it fits so well.
Clickbait porn kind of amalgamation.
It fits so well on a
Anyway,
thumbnail.
look, you can't get it. It's like $30, I think. I think this is very good value for money if you like what it's doing. I mean, I really do believe that. Like, as I said, I think it's getting 7s and 8s across the board. Some people are giving it 9, some people are giving it 6, but I think it's sort of resting in that 7.5 mark. I definitely agree with that score. I had a good time with this. I laughed. I had a really good opening act. I got a little bit bored of it by the end, and I was like, I've seen this already. There's a lot of potential for this in the future where if they want to take this idea further and do more games with it, you could do great stuff. I think it's worth checking out if this is your job. By the way, you can play it co-op. You can play the whole thing through co-op.
We didn't do that. We should have.
We couldn't, because actually in the review period, the co-op was disabled. But you can do it now. You can play co-op. Cool. Perfect game to play with kids, I'd say, as well. If you have kids,
for sure.
It's really good for that, because it's like, it's fun enough for you. It's also accessible enough for kids. So check that out.
All right, everyone. That's it. Goodbye.
I can play it with Sam.
Well, I'm glad that we didn't play together.